From the rolling hills and the green acres of Shell Estates in Coweta, Oklahoma, it's the Shell Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Shell's Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be going over BMT, what it was like during this, it was like during COVID, and some of the issues that might arise while you're going through BMT. I'll say this, day one was not as bad as it should have been. It should have been much worse, and it wasn't. People had to stay 6 feet from you. You weren't really getting yelled at all that much. They were just trying to get you inside the dorm and put you to bed. That was it. There was no first day haircuts or anything like that. It wasn't you got there and straight away they buzzed your hair off. They didn't search your bags or anything. They just kind of threw you in a room and called it a day. Let's see what else. I would say maybe sometime that week we finally got our parts of our first issue clothing. So we got our PT gear. Once we got the PT gear, we had to put our civilian luggage up, and all we wore was the actual PT gear. We were in uniform. That was the point. I want to say probably one of the worst things about PT during this whole COVID thing isn't actually BMT itself. It's the fact that you didn't get to do any of the motivating factors that come with BMT. What I mean by that is you didn't get to have a parade, which you would get to see your family members and everyone like that during the parade. You didn't get to go on town pass. You didn't get to go have patio breaks. You didn't get to do any of this because there was such a limited amount of time that the time you did have for free was just so you could rest, really. And they didn't let you go to classes, so you always had to study the book. And you had no idea what you were studying because it was all based on just random reading. So, one question I've noticed people ask me all the time is, what is the hardest thing about BMT? I don't know what it will be for people who normally will be going through BMT, but I know for the people who are going through COVID, from my experience as an 18-year-old who just left his family, the hardest thing is not getting to see them. That's the hardest thing about BMT and Texel is you don't get to see your family, you don't get to talk to them really. You only talk to them through a phone. That's the hardest part about BMT, at least from personal experience. But I would say other than that, if you're just a regular person, you've been living on your own and you decided to join the Air Force, and family's not a big deal to you, because I'm assuming a lot of people who go through this is just going to say exactly that. Oh, family, not seeing family. And that's probably not what everyone wants to hear. I would say the true difficulty of BMT, with just looking at BMT alone, I would say for people going through COVID is the taking away all the motivating factors outside of BMT. For example, like I said, parade. Instead of parade, you have a ceremony. Instead of instead of going on town pass and seeing people in the city, you stay on base. You can't leave. You don't even get to march around base and explore it. Instead of getting to go on those patio breaks, you stay in the dorm, or you go to tent city. You have to stay there. But so far, everything's been, decent here. I do want to say that I think that in BMT, one thing you need to watch out on. So here's some advice for people going through BMT or about to go, especially right now, is you have to read that book. It's called the BMT SG. It's your BMT study guide. You have to read it. There's a page, I think it's page 5 or 7, and it has a list of every single chapter that's testable. Read those chapters. that's what you need to do. You have to. There's a lot of people at BMT who say it's not important. You don't have to read it because they say the test is super easy. I won't lie, the test is pretty easy, but that's because I knew what was in the book. I studied the book. It was easy for me. The questions themselves are not hard. It's just there's so many different questions that can be asked that if you don't read the book and you don't know what's in the book, you're not going to be able to answer those questions and pass. It's not because the questions are hard, it's just because you've never heard like the Air Force answer to that. Another thing is when you get to tech school, I've only been here 2 days, and I can already tell that it's a lot different than BMT. You have a lot more freedom. So far, I've noticed at tech school is you have to work out because you have PT tests, you have things you have to do. You have to keep your room neat, not like BMT neat, but just neat. Actually, I won't even talk about tech school. I'm just going to talk about BMT because I haven't finished tech school yet. So don't listen to me on tech school. This is my second day. I don't know much about it. I will say at BMT, just do what you're told. Don't be the guy who sits there and complains about what the MTI is saying or doing, or you don't agree. Just do it. It's very, very easy. That's all they want. They want you to just do what you're told, and think of it this way. You're a cog in the machine, right? If you do what you're supposed to do, which is what you're told, everything runs smoothly. The team doesn't get yelled at. The team actually practices. The team works well and functions well. Also, you have to, this is for those student leaders or element leaders, student leaders, anyone in a position, you realize you are not above your teammates, but I still think you're the same rank as your teammates and you're in the same position as your teammates, your other wingmen, but you have more responsibility, as in you should focus on making the team better, even if that causes you to be looked at as a blue falcon. The reason I say that is because I noticed my team, at least, we never wrote a single name down, not one name. And the MTIs had no idea what was wrong with the team. He knew that we were not a motivated team, but he didn't know why. Well, it turns out that behind the curtains, we were arguing all the time. We were getting upset because some people were doing something and none of us thought that was a good idea, but he kept doing it or they kept doing it. But we never said anything because we didn't want to ruin someone's career. That's what we were thinking at the time. It was, hey, if I write this guy's name down, he might get a U and he might be trying to get that honor grad. If I give him a U, he's not going to be able to get honor grad. Or, maybe he's just trying to do this because that's how he is. Whatever the reason is, it doesn't take away the fact that you should be the person to step up, have some integrity, and do what is right, which is to write his name down and be like, all right, look, you're doing what's wrong. I've tried to warn you. You're not listening. I'm putting your name on the paper, giving it to the MTIs. No one wants to do it. No one wants to be that person, but you have to. Because that's what's going to make the team better by fifth week. Because if you go to Beast and your team is not functioning well, you guys are screwed. You guys are so screwed. Your team, you guys depend on each other. That's the whole point. So you have to be willing to have responsibility in one of those positions, and you have to be the person who's pushing everyone else. If you are, dorm chief, you will be setting the example for everyone. And I'm not kidding. It is such a important position at BMT. Not in the fact that it's like, oh, I'm super special. It's gonna be in the it's gonna be on my record from this point forward, and it's gonna help my career. No, it won't. being dorm chief will not help your career. It might help you in tech school. That's about it. During operational, they're not going to ask, well, were you dorm chief? No, they don't care. But it's going to give you that time, that experience of being a leader and having to set yourself apart from everyone else. You may be seeing everyone sleeping during Sunday when they're not supposed to, and you need to go around, tell people, hey, we're not allowed to do this, this isn't allowed. No. And fix it, because that's what you're there for. You're there to be that leader and be the example for the team to follow. Your limit is the team's limit. What I mean by that is if you're sleeping all the time, you're doing stuff that you're not supposed to do as a student leader, people will follow you because that's what they're looking up to. They say, well, my dorm chief, the person who can write my name down and screw me over, is doing it, then I can do it, and I have this, I got this under my belt now. If he comes at me for it, I'll tell him about it and use it against him. They can do that because that's what we do at BMT. You find little things to get in your belt, so if someone comes at you for something you do wrong, you pull it out and hit them with it. So listen to your dorm chief, listen to those MTIs, do what you're supposed to do, and don't be the person who's holding the team back. Because if you come unprepared and not willing to do what you're told or to listen, the MTIs will get you recycled or separated. Also, come to BMT prepared to work out on a daily basis and be physically fit. It is extremely important because you have a PT test. That's one of the easiest things to pass. All you have to do is be willing to put in hard work. Have some discipline, put in that hard work, and pass the PT test. You have RLA. RLA is not hard. Make sure your shirts are rolled right. Take that time. Put 5 minutes into each shirt, and then you'll be done in 30 minutes. And then, make sure you wash your shirts on a daily basis so you don't have to use them all. I only wore 3 shirts every week because I kept washing them and reusing them. So I only had a shirt or 2 to roll on Sunday. I would wash it, and then boom, I have it the next day. You just have to find a system that works for you to make your life easier at BMT, because you have, I had 7.5 weeks. They might be going back to 8.5 weeks after COVID. I don't know. So you're either going to have 7.5 weeks or 8.5 weeks of BMT, and if you don't find a system that makes it run smoother for you, you're going to have a tough time there. Find a system that works for you and works for your team, because BMT is not a selfish thing. It gets more selfish at tech school because, it's your career now. You are pushing your limits. You have wingmen, and you have to be there to help your wingman. But at the same time, if you aren't willing to take the responsibility to do your stuff at tech school, then you're just going to hold yourself back. You're going to get recycled and then pushed back and then probably separated if you don't do what you're supposed to do. At BMT, it's a wingman concept that's drilled into your head. You always take care of your wingman. You and your wingman are equals. You guys will always be equals. Maybe later on in operational, you guys kind of separate because one person ranks up faster and he has more responsibilities. But you both have respect for each other and both listen to each other because you've gone through the same things. That's the wingman concept, is sitting there being, you're there for your partners, you're there for your teammates. You hold them accountable to a higher level of standards. The Air Force has a set standards. Hold them higher than that, so if they fail your standards, they still meet with the Air Force and they don't fall back. That's what you're supposed to do as a wingman. If you can't do that, I don't recommend you join the Air Force, because if you're not willing to push your limits and push those around you, you're not a selfless leader. And that's what we need. If you want to be that, and you don't know if you have the qualities or not, Air Force is perfect for you because they can give you those qualities. They can tell you what you need to do to reach it. Have integrity first, service before self, and excellence in everything you do. That's how you reach any goal you want in the Air Force. Follow the core values and you will get what you want. It's very simple. So, yeah, I guess that's going to go ahead and be this podcast. If you guys have any questions or anything like that you want to let me know about, just go ahead and comment down below and I'll read it, I'll answer it, let you know about it. Alright, it's nice talking to you guys. Bye.